Hello pond people, Frogopodus here, and this is it. We're at the bottom of the iceberg. Look at all this crap. Who left their computer down here? These are the absolute worst movies I have ever seen, and on top of that, I will also be uncovering my mystery layer, where I ask some people what their worst movies were so I can torment myself with those too. While these entries aren't in any particular order, I will say that the last two are easily two of the worst movies I've ever watched. We'll get there, but first, let's go back to 2009. I cannot for the life of me think of why I did not put Dragon Ball Evolution on this list. Maybe I had just pushed it that far back in my head in an effort to forget it. Everything they could possibly do to make this a terrible adaptation of the anime, they did. It's like they went out of their way to do it. If you're too young to remember when this came out, this stuff I'm showing you right now, this was a real movie that came out in theaters. There's probably a bunch of other bad adaptations I could have put here, but they pale in comparison to this. This is the worst adaptation I've ever seen. Now some people might say something like M. Night Shyamalan's Avatar adaptation is the worst one, but at least it tried to look like Avatar. This is Goku. He's a high school student now and has bullies for some reason. Here's Bulma. You can tell because there's a blue streak in her hair. Chi-Chi, Master Roshi, Gohan, Yamcha. There's Piccolo. The only silver lining is that this was so bad that it made the original creator come back and revive the series. This next movie is called The Elf, which I watched with some friends when we were looking for a bad Christmas movie. The sound mixing is off, so you can't tell what people are saying over the loud music. Wouldn't matter anyway, because it was boring as hell. This movie's about this guy who opens a chest in his parents' antique shop, and this unleashes a curse where this ugly looking elf doll thing will go around and kill all of his family members because they've been naughty, or something like that. And then for like the next 40 to 50 minutes is just relationship and family drama, and nobody looks like they want to be there. Oh, he also has this weird dream, and I think this is where most of the budget went. You would occasionally see the elf and it would be like this weird CG thing, but it would just kind of stare menacingly at the guy. But sometimes they would have him attack people, and I swear to God I saw someone holding the elf figure. Thankfully we watched the mean one afterwards, which thank God knew how to have fun. Dybbuk Box. Dybbuk Box, the true story of Chris Chambers, is a movie where a guy buys a supposedly haunted box off the internet, and then it turns out to really be haunted, and then some weird stuff happens. Then he gets possessed or something, and it just ends up with him leaving that place and going back to live with his parents. If you've seen movies like Paranormal Activity, then you've seen this movie, except this movie does it worse. Shark Side of the Moon is a movie I've actually talked about before, but really all I have to show you is this clip. The Goetia Diaries commits the mortal sin of making a very interesting topic boring, as our main character interviews people about the Ars Goetia and the occult as dryly as possible. Then this starts negatively affecting his life, and then his wife is like, you should stop doing this, and then his best friend is like, you should stop doing this, and then he doesn't listen, and then all the people he's been interviewing turn out to be part of a cult, and he gets sacrificed to Osmodia so he can be possessed and Asmodia can come to Earth and I guess kill everybody. The most interesting thing about this movie is this guy's pretty cool mustache. What else do I got here? Scalar Dark Spirit, I remember nothing about except for the fact that the antagonist looks like Squidward. Next up, and somehow not the worst thing I've ever seen, is 2025's World of Worlds with Ice Cube. A movie I've talked about before, but there's always more room to talk about World of Worlds 2025 with Ice Cube. When it comes to movies released by a major studio, World of Worlds is probably in the top 5 worst, which is really saying something. This is a shockingly lazy movie, and it must have been a tax write-off that got released by accident. Ice Cube's computer can just do anything, and his son is a master hacker, and on top of that, his daughter is a brilliant scientist. And don't forget the power of Amazon. The movie is just all these characters standing in front of a green screen, coming up with increasingly absurd solutions that just work. It's mind-numbingly stupid and incredibly entertaining. Thank you, William Radford, for saving the planet. You're a true American hero. Join the rebellion! So now we're at my bottom 2, and these are what I do consider the worst things I've ever seen, and we're going to start with NOCLIP. NOCLIP is a movie where 2 stoners walk around a mall looking for liminal spaces. And that's all it is for an hour. That's the movie. They just walk around, sometimes they go down stairwells and stuff, or down corridors, and film stuff. Now, you would imagine with a title like that they would eventually NOCLIP out of reality, and that's when the real horror would start. But that never happens. Nothing happens. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm misrepresenting the film. Something does happen. When they go down one of the stairwells, they put a filter on top and go in slow motion, and then put on other filters, so we know that they've no-clipped out of reality. This goes on for 10 minutes, but it feels like 30. I've watched other movies where it feels like nothing's happened and they just waste your time, and this is the ultimate example of that for me. And it's not like there's this great atmosphere to make up for it. That's where the real horror is. They're just in a mall. There's people in the mall, so it's not like it's abandoned or anything. They're just walking around the mall. I watched this movie for free and I still want my money back. Can I sue the guys that made this? Is there grounds for that? Somebody ask a lawyer. Now, the Athens County Massacre is a different kind of terrible. It literally tells you to stop watching and turn back at the beginning. Also, a brief aside, the alien on the poster never shows up in any way. It is a common stock image. The footage we see in this movie was recovered by super hackers because we deserve to know the truth, and shows us footage from William Miller, an investigative reporter who's going to get down to what's really happening in Athens. The actor for William Miller does this whole Alex Jones impression, thankfully without all the other horrible stuff added to it. It's kind of funny at the start, but then it's not, and then it gets kind of funny again, and then you realize there's an hour left. I do like this part at the beginning where he's just talking to locals about their paranormal experiences, and I kind of wish the whole movie was this. Unfortunately, it's not. We end up getting this long-ass scene where he's just talking to this guy who used to work for Area 51, and he's just droning on and on as stock footage plays over him, and then Miller will loudly overreact to what he's saying. I do like this scene where they get interrupted by somebody, and he has like the strongest Boston accent I've ever heard. It's great.
What's going on in here? You guys have a permit to shoot?
No, we're allowed to be here, so please.
Okay, but look, you got like 20 minutes, and you guys gotta get the fuck out of here. You hear?
Hey, 20 minutes is all we need.
20 minutes? I'm serious, guys.
Just please don't disturb us.
I'm kind of curious where they filmed this because it's just an empty room with some stuff lying around. Eventually I just realized that this movie probably isn't going to get any better. In fact, it's going to get worse. Miller has been investigating the disappearance of these 5 hikers. We see the footage of those hikers. They're hiking in an area where they think they might find aliens, and they're going to get that footage and become rich and famous. And then they just kind of stand around and talk about aliens and other stuff, and this guy over here tries desperately to be funny.
Well, I'm gonna make them my bitch so we can, you know, harness all their technology and everything, right? That's what the government does.
They stand around and talk, and then walk around a bit, and then stand around and talk some more, until a guy in a hoodie shows up. When one of them go to confront the guy in the hoodie, the annoying guy, for whatever reason, warns him to not get assaulted and get an STD. He really says this. I have no idea why. So anyway, this guy gets zapped to death. Maybe these hoodie guys are the aliens? Maybe they're disguised as guys in hoodies? Maybe they have superpowers? They never tell us, so you know what, it's fine. And then we get footage of the hikers being tortured in some lair, or probably some guy's garage. But it looks more like they're this kind of being a mild nuisance to them. This guy looks like he's getting barbecue sauce rubbed all over him. They're shocking this guy with nipple clams, and of what I can tell, they're taking away this guy's barbecue meat. Geez guys, I forgot to put trigger warnings before this torture scene. I hope you didn't get traumatized. So that footage ends, and then we're shown footage of the news crew and cops that are investigating their disappearance. And they stand around and talk, but this time they walk around a bit more than the other guys did. And we get to see the aliens? Hoodie vision. What proceeds is these guys getting captured too, and then a lot of yelling. Then they're also tortured of barbecue sauce. This guy's getting spaghetti pulled out of him, and she's being forced to eat squid. She hates squid. This guy's getting his ding-dong power sawed off, I think. But these damned aliens didn't think they would get someone that fights back, and that man's name is Terry. Terry breaks out and starts kicking ass, and he makes his way out of there. Miller is able to get in contact with him, and he conducts an interview, and Terry's just trying not to laugh throughout the entire thing. I like Terry. Terry's great. Too bad he dies of unspecified causes 48 hours after this. So then Miller meets with another ex-CIA alien expert, and I'll admit, this line's pretty funny.
Jumpin' Jehoshaphat! What is this? This is an arsenal. This is more than the National Guard would carry.
So this guy turns out to be an alien hunter who's been killing the aliens to try to save humanity. And he has this bounty hunter with him to help out. And also this guy who I guess is also a bounty hunter. He just kind of stands there holding a machine gun. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain what happens from here. The alien body isn't there anymore. And this random guy we've never seen before pops out of the tall grass, yells at them that if they want to see a body that they should follow him, and then when they catch up to him, he warns them that they're the ones that are actually in trouble. You see, they're not hunting the aliens are hunting them. Then he gets shot. And then it's them running around and yelling until they get attacked off screen and disappear.
You go after those people and you get them. You get them! I will carry on the fight! Ah!
After ex-government guy I didn't remember the name of sacrifices his life, it's just Miller and his cameraman left. The poor cameraman is attacked by, something vague off-screen, and we find out later that Miller got away, but he's now in a psych ward, and I hope he stays there. Those are my worst movies, but like I said, I asked some other people what their worst movies were, and they said, "Who the hell were you? Get out of my house." Then I realized it was just a lot safer and legal to just ask people on the internet. This first movie was actually suggested to me by a good friend of mine. She knows her stuff, and if anyone's going to know crap, it's her, and boy did she deliver. That Guy Goes Nutzoid is a 1986 movie distributed by Troma Entertainment, who you'll know for The Toxic Avenger. The copy I watched was pretty interesting because it actually starts with an interview between Lloyd Kaufman, who founded Troma Pictures, and John Golden, who directed this movie. It's pretty interesting. He talks about his inspiration for the film and how it was received, and how apparently he couldn't use the title Fat Boy Goes Nutzoid because of the rap group Fat Boys. I really like this kind of stuff. I'll link it below. This movie does not start with our titular fat guy, but with a guy named Richard. Richard's kind of an asshole. He has a rich family, he doesn't want to work, and he just mooches off everybody. The opening credits are weird because every time a credit shows up, the screen will just stop like it's a comedic beat. This isn't really a complaint, I just thought it was odd. So Richard decides to crash at his brother's place of work, which is a camp for people with disabilities. And I'm just going to get this out of the way. This is a movie from the 80s distributed by Troma. It didn't age well. Also, his brother's name is Dougal. Dougal hesitantly lets Richard stay, which is a pretty bad idea because the other people there get into Richard's suitcase, which is full of Quaaludes. And you'll notice there's a particularly fat guy here. Because of this, Dougal gets fired, and as he's packing his stuff away and him and Richard are driving off, they don't realize that they have a stowaway. And this stowaway's the fat guy. I wonder if things are gonna get Nutzoid. The character's name is David, but they call him the Mooka, and I have no idea what that means, so I could be saying like the most offensive thing right now. All I could find online when I looked this up were advertisements for a mattress company, so I'm just gonna hope for the best. What proceeds from here is what I can only describe as mild shenanigans. There's not really a lot of Nutzoid going on here. I mean, there's this part where he bear hugs this guy, and that's kinda nuts. Richard and Dougal leave him with one of their friends while they go off to do something else, and when they come back, David has destroyed the guy's apartment because he beat him at chess. And considering this movie's crazy poster, you'd think there'd be a bit more going on. By the way, the woman on the front shows up once for like 5 seconds during a concert scene. I mean, aging kind of poorly aside, they're just kind of hanging out with this guy and getting it up to no good. Richard even learns to be a better person over the course of the film because of his friendship with David. The movie's actually pretty boring. Anyway, then the Mooka gets shot. He sneaks away from the brothers in the middle of the night, where he gets up to more shenanigans until he eventually crashes a wedding, which causes all of the wedding goers to chase after him, and then the police chase after him, so he hides in a phone booth. And David had taken Richard's briefcase, and the briefcase this flies open and there's just Quaaludes everywhere. And oh god, David has a gun! Richard shows up and tells everyone to calm down and don't shoot. He doesn't know any better. He's going to take care of this until one of the cops panic and shoot our fat Nutzoid. I actually kind of like the last quarter of this movie. I mean, not him getting shot, but this incident really causes Richard to rethink everything he's been doing and how it's affected David and the people around him. Now, thankfully, David survives the shooting, but unfortunately, he's sent to a psych ward. The last bit of the movie is Richard using his money to rent a helicopter so he can break David out of prison. And it just ends with them flying away to freedom. I honestly didn't hate this, I just thought it was terribly uninteresting for the most part. This next movie, though, is very interesting, but not for the movie itself. This was suggested to me by fellow YouTuber Little Sleepy, who I'll be linking below. And according to him, this movie will make me have a stroke. And that sounded pretty ominous, but what is this movie? Well, it has 3 titles, technically. Its original title was Age of the Hobbits, but then they were sued by Warner Brothers, so they changed the title to Lord of the Elves, and then they changed the title again to Clash of Empires. But you see, the people at the asylum are clever. You would think that this movie would be a Hobbit ripoff according to the original title, but this is actually a movie about another group of hobbits. Clash of the Empires is a fictional story about the very real hobbits that were discovered in Indonesia in 2003. I'm not very good at science, so I'm just going to read this off the wiki. Their scientific name was Homo florensis. You know what, that's fine. Which have been uniformly referred to as hobbits in the scientific community. Checkmate, Warner Brothers. The storytelling in this movie is very basic. We first start by being introduced to the tree people. They never call them the hobbits. These little guys are the peaceful race. And then there's the giants, and they're neutral. But then there's the rock people, and they're bad. The bad guys show up on dragons and just start kidnapping people so they can be eaten or sacrificed. It's all very incoherent, but all you have to know is that some of the tree people are taken away and now they have to go save them. The villain's lair is this pretty nice looking cave, and all they do is just kind of mill about and act menacing. It honestly seems like a pretty good time. We're back up our heroes, and I should probably tell you their name. That's Gobin, that's Omi, and that's Tak Tak. The movie from here is them trying to make their way to where the Rockmen are, and then getting chased by Rockmen, and then running into the guy from Stargate, and they save him from this thing, so he thinks they're pretty cool. And they're led to where I presume the giants reside. It's just an open field with like a throne in the middle, and some huts. I can only presume that people just kinda stand around all day. Amthar, who's Christopher Judge's character, starts telling the chieftain how cool the tree people are, and how we should totally help them out. Then the chieftain says no, that's dumb, and has them tied to a tree. I really have to take a moment to give Christopher Judge credit for not just phoning it in. The movie's still terrible, but good for him. That night, Amthar unties them. They meet up with some other people that want to help, and now they're on a most unexpected journey. Oh shit, I meet an adventure! Also, if you're wondering who this lady is, her character's name is Leyland, but the actor's name is Bei Ling. She is in a treasure trove of B-movies. You need to check out her IMDb page. So now they're off, and they go through all sorts of perils, like fighting a giant spider who then gets eaten by another much larger spider. But don't worry, they get away. But then, oh no, this guy gets killed by a trap. And then, oh no, they fight two giant lizards. There's some funny stuff here, especially the awful costumes and effects. But the movie as a whole was just terribly generic. Wait, I haven't talked about Kodo. Okay, so Kodo is this completely original character that reminds you of nobody, and he's the best character in the movie.
Slave to Rockman a long time. Stay with Koto. I teach you how not to die. He chased tree people. They got away. They were following magic rocks.
Back up our heroes, Amthar almost dies in the lizard battle. While Amthar is totally dying and it's super sad, Tak Tak and Gobin head to the bad guy's lair where they start sneaking about. This doesn't go too great because as he gets there, this character I forgot the name of gets sacrificed to the moon god. Then Tak Tak gets caught and they throw his wife in a hole. Then for some reason, they kill poor Koto. Why? Good night, sweet prince. Tak Tak is also gonna get sacrificed until Amthar shows up out of nowhere and saves the day. It's a miracle. Then everybody else shows up, including the giants, and we get this absolutely incomprehensible battle. There's just a bunch of people on the screen doing things, but by that point I've stopped caring because Koto's dead. The next movie suggested to me was Found Footage 3D. Found Footage 3D is a meta film where the whole thing is that you follow this cynical director who makes a found footage movie because he thinks it'll be cheap, easy money. And the way he's going to stand out from all the other found footage movies is by filming in 3D. Remember when everything was 3D? And because I'm a professional, I watched it in 3D vision. I don't have the glasses, but I did it anyway. But then it started giving me a headache, so I went back to duty. So the biggest part of this movie, besides them filming in an actually haunted location, is the relationship between the director, who's also acting in this, and his ex-wife, who agreed to be in this because she's also a professional. Outside of the relationship drama, we also get them constantly reminding us that this is a cynical found footage movie, and that they don't think found footage is a real art form. But don't you worry, they'll get there soon enough. So of course what happens from here is that actually spooky stuff starts happening, but they don't believe it because they're filming a horror movie. And would you look at that, the story of their found footage film reflects the relationship between the ex-wife and the director. I don't mind movies that deconstruct the genre they're in, but it's already been done and better. This movie isn't terrible by any means, it's just incredibly average. Watching the process of them making the film is kind of interesting, but it's in between all this character drama that if you don't like, well, you're not gonna have a good time. The actual horror in this movie is nothing special. It's just this shadow figure that only shows up in the footage when the cameraman is looking at it and editing, and then it eventually possesses the ex-wife and all hell breaks loose. It's all very standard, and I can completely understand why the person who suggested this to me was very annoyed watching it.
I mean, what's the point? What is the point of making the first 3D found footage horror movie if it's just gonna suck? If it's just...
Speaking of annoying, let's talk about the second last film, Space Jam: A New Legacy. This is a movie with a very bare bones plot that's mostly there to tell you how great LeBron James is and to show you all the stuff Warner Brothers owns. The movie tries to be cool and self-aware. One of the key plot points is LeBron going to the WB studios with his family so they can pitch him movie ideas, and he says all these ideas suck because it's just me being plopped into other stories. And this makes the main villain, who's literally an algorithm, get mad and then trick him into being sucked into the userverse. Wait, no, it's a serververse. Also, he kidnaps his son, so there's his motivation. His son has the personality of a rock. When Algae Rhythm just makes him kind of disappear, when we see him again, he's not freaked out or anything, he just asks where his dad is, and Algae says, oh, he went to go get a basketball team together because he wants to challenge me to a basketball game, and he just doesn't question this at all. The very basic conflict that he and his dad have is that LeBron wants him to play basketball, but he just wants to make video games. They really knew how to make you relate to the problems that a son of a multi-millionaire would have. Anyway, the first half of the movie is him being plopped into different stories, but with Bugs Bunny. And it's okay, because they already made fun of themselves for it. Speaking of Bugs Bunny though, we do get the one good scene in the whole movie. When LeBron initially lands in the Toonverse, he is of course a cartoon, and this part is pretty fun. He finds Bugs Bunny and they do a bunch of antics together. I mean, they're just recreating famous scenes from the old cartoon, but I don't know, it looks nice and the animation is charming. I enjoyed watching it. Actually wait, I just remembered they did the Big Chungus memes, so this part sucks too. That's only a small part of the movie. Now we get to see all the cameos! Bugs and LeBron have to go universe to universe getting his friends back. Each universe are these ugly spheres with some stuff slapped onto them so you know what they're supposed to be. You notice pretty quickly that they don't even do anything creative with these different IPs, or this there as a thing you recognize. The closest we get to something that's at least kind of fun is when Daffy Duck and Porky Pig are in the DC universe, but somehow Warner Brothers is going to get even lazier with their IPs later in the movie. If all the Looney Tunes back together, you'd think there'd be some fun antics to talk about, but there's not. The big basketball game to get his son back and apparently decide the fate of the serververse is a bloated mess that goes on forever. We see a bunch of other characters owned by Warner Brothers, but now they're just standing around doing idle animations. In a way, this is a perfect encapsulation of the whole movie. They're showing you all the stuff they own, but they've taken away all the soul and character from them. Even the Looney Tunes characters seem less involved in this sequel. It's just also ugly to look at, and I haven't even gotten to the basketball team they're facing against. It's like some poor intern showed them a rough sketch and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll use it. So all these characters are just standing around with no rhyme or reason to why they're there. Everybody's already talked about how bizarre it is that the Droogs are here, but what I want to talk about is this lady. This character is meant to represent a nun from the 1970s psychological horror, The Devil Devils, a film that has been widely banned and censored since its release in 1971, largely for its depictions of sex and violence in a religious setting. It seems to be a rather scathing look at organized religion, oppressed sexuality, and corrupt politics. It looks really interesting, and hopefully I can find a copy to watch one day. With all that being said, why is she a background character in Space Jam: A New Legacy? Like, the one silver lining of me watching this terrible movie was learning about the Devils. Anyway, the game goes on forever, there's a bunch of gags and shenanigans, none of which are funny, and LeBron learns to not take things so seriously. Then they win the basketball game. Yay! Also, Bugs Bunny dies. Nah, just kidding, he comes back. Well, that was a miserable experience, but what would you say if I told you that the last movie was somehow worse? This is the Rodfellows Movie, and it was suggested to me by fellow YouTuber Dr. Storm, who suffered through this crap live with Joey a while back. I'll be linking that below. Now, I know when I asked him that he would most likely say that this was the worst movie he had ever seen, and it's so bizarre and kind of fascinating that I really just want an excuse to talk about it. This movie apparently had screenings in a local theater, and I choose to believe that because it's funny. But what is the Rodfellows Movie? Well, the Rodfellows Movie is where a bunch of characters stand around and tell you what is happening and what is going to happen, all through stilted dialogue and poor animation.
So, you want to watch Huck with me while you eat?
Yeah, because eating them at the table is kind of boring, so that's why I want to bring in some entertainment while I eat.
That seems fair.
Yup.
The first 25 minutes of this movie is just that, and then something kind of resembling a plot starts happening when this chipmunk and his brother show up to turn down for what, and start bullying this kid in a beanie for some reason.
You called, bro?
Oh, so that's Satan.
That's correct. Don't even wear it out.
Okay.
Now you might think in the 25 minutes I either skipped over, you might have missed some important information, but you really didn't. This guy watches hockey all day, this guy likes to eat, this girl likes to make the stuff that this guy eats.
Holy! Cody? You finished your food already?
Yes. Yes, I did. Man, can you believe I eat at any rate of speed?
Now, this movie is part of a larger series, but I don't think I would understand any more of this even if I did watch it. And honestly, I would rather play soccer with a hornet's nest, which would suck because I'm not very good at soccer. I wouldn't have a lot of fun. You may also notice that there are a number of characters of large stomachs. And yes, it is a director's barely disguised fetish. So Xander and Zayden, who I know the names of because it's literally written right there, start bullying this kid, and then he talks back to them, which causes them to chase him into the Rodfellows house, which causes a dispute there, and after they tell them to get out of their house and this kid tries to spit on them, this starts a feud that goes throughout the entire film. The pranks they pull on each other are very strange. Like, there's stuff that kind of makes sense, like putting Lego on the floor and gluing their fridge shut. There's this prank they pull on Zayden and Xander where they like remotely hack their Xbox, and then this cat thing shows up and pops out of the TV, but then these other two characters I've never seen before also show up, which made me confused and scared. This stuff gradually escalates until there's like a team of heroes and a team of villains going at each other, and it's all near incomprehensible. I haven't even touched on the other weird shit in this movie, like how these two kids are always hanging around the Rodfellows despite the fact that they have parents, and the absolutely bizarre dialogue.
Well, you never know what'll happen next.
There may be some, but I don't know what.
Yeah, we may not know what we are doing, but we are doing something.
Well, you could say that. It's just our boredom, and we'd like to do something fun and all that whatnot.
Here's a random scene of Sylvester the cat, who also has a huge stomach. Why is he here? I don't know, he never shows up again. There's a part where the brothers rob a flower shop for some reason, and then bring those flowers to what's clearly a strip club. You might be wondering, hearing and seeing all of this, who is this made for? It's definitely not made for kids, so it must just be made for the people that made it and whatever fans they had. By a little over midway through, there's so many random characters on the screen that I can't be bothered to know who's who. Like, who the hell was this? And what in the 2010s DeviantArt is that? The big climax of the movie is the chipmunks turning their car into like a mechazoid, and I'm not even sure what the other bad guys are doing, and they stop the mechazoid by throwing Snickers at it. And then all the bad guys get arrested because the police finally show up. Except for this guy that gets killed by a giant drill. This is apparently a reference to Gurren Lagann. I probably didn't get that right, but yeah, he gets animated to death.
Never come back, you drunk, deadbeat disgrace of a father.
I had such a hard time trying to summarize this movie and make points because it's so goddamn boring that I would start zoning out, but then the weirdest shit would happen that would just snap me back to attention.
I can shove them with my big tummy and they will faint. Well, I even can smash them using my big tummy. And I could do the same Gloria did when a wildly dramatic scene took place.
I didn't even talk about the fact that a large part of the ending is all the characters individually getting medals. The Rodfellows Movie is a fascinating yet agonizing experience that I can only suggest you recommend to somebody you hate. And that's that. I'm done my bad movie Iceberg, and I would like to thank everybody else who contributed. There's always going to be bad movies to come out and to discover, and hell, I could watch something tomorrow that could make my list. Bad movies are endless. They'll never stop. They'll be with us forever. Thanks for stopping by. Like and subscribe, or leave a little comment. Either way, I'm just happy you're here. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.